Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Everybody, and thank you for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. As you guys know by now, I'm your host, Casuan Caudle, and I just want to start by saying, as usual, I'm so blessed and thankful to be here with you guys talking about this wonderful game of basketball. And not to start out on an introspective note, but I was going through social media and I came across this quote that said, it had a picture of a basketball and it said, "This little orange ball has saved countless lives in this world." And I thought it was such a poignant quote, because me personally, I can relate to it, because I wouldn't be where I am today if not for the game of basketball. And I guess I just want to start by saying that I'm just so grateful. Gratitude is what I feel whenever I get to talk about basketball, play basketball, or be involved with basketball in any way whatsoever. So for those of you that are listening right now, just take some time to reflect on what you're grateful for and what makes you feel gratitude in this life. And if it's a person, tell them thank you for that. We have to remember to sit back and reflect on what we're grateful for and what we're appreciative of in this life. And that's why I wanted to start out with gratitude. That is our word of the day. We got a lot to talk about today. A lot of topics, interesting topics that I will be discussing. I'm going to be talking about the mental approach, and even the physical approach that freshmen should have going into college and high school. I'm going to talk about this ongoing debate on whether or not kids should be playing multiple sports, especially with today. The game today, not just with basketball, football as well, and baseball, the talent has become so rich that people feel that they need to dedicate 100% of their time to that sport and no other sport. So I'm just going to tackle that debate and give my perspective on whether or not young athletes should be playing multiple sports. I'm also going to talk about, like I said, the diet. What kind of diet should athletes, not just young athletes, but professional athletes, what type of diet should we have in the preseason, in the regular season, in the off season, and how that can affect not just our play on the court, but our day-to-day life as well. But what I want to start out with is this concept of, what do you value most in life? And so often we go through our daily lives, and some of us don't know what we value or what we want to put effort towards. And what we don't know essentially what our purpose is, what we're trying to accomplish in life. And if you don't know what your purpose is, you don't know what you value most in life, you're going to go around in this life not only aimlessly, but also you're going to spend this whole life wishing that you were someone else. Because you're going to be following someone else's agenda, someone else's prerogative, someone else's plan, because you don't have one for yourself, because you don't know what you value inherently, and you don't know what your purpose is. And it doesn't matter what your value is, as long as it's morally and ethically correct, that's on you. But it doesn't matter what it is. Someone is always going to have something to say about it. And I want to use this backdrop of Kevin Durant and the recent waves he made following his interview with Rachel Nichols of ESPN. So if you haven't heard by now, Kevin Durant made a splash with his comments that basically summed up saying that he's not motivated by winning titles anymore. That's not the quote-unquote end-all be-all for him. And being a reporter, I want to give this the proper context. So I'm going to read his quote, or a fairly large portion of his quote, so we have a better understanding by not just reading the headline. So I'm going to read it real quick. So Durant states, "I wasn't expecting to be a happy human being from a title. I was just expecting, the ending of a movie. Once you work so hard, everybody tells you, yo, this is what you need to be working for. This is a gold ball and these rings." And I'm thinking to myself, all right, cool. Let me lock in on that. And I locked in on it, wanting to achieve that. But I also realized it's a lot of stuff that factors in it that's out of my control. And once I won a championship with Golden State, I realized that my view on this game is really about development. Like, how good can I really be? It's not about, let's go get this championship. I appreciate that stuff. And I want to win to experience that stuff. But it's not the end all be all of why I play the game. Now that we have proper context for what's going on and what Durant said, I want to tackle this. By now, we all know the story of Kevin Durant, how he went from OKC to Golden State. At the time, he was the second best player in the league, and he led Golden State to 2 championships. Now, the first analysis I heard of this quote were from a couple of reporters on TV, and they said that Kevin Durant wouldn't be saying all this if he never won a championship. He wouldn't be saying that he's not motivated by rings if he never won a championship. But I disagree with that emphatically. Because what did Kevin Durant say initially when he went to Golden State? What did he say? He wanted to learn how to play basketball the right way. He never said anything about winning championships. Never once did he say he wants to win. Never once did he say that. He said that he wants to improve himself as a basketball player and learn to play basketball the right way. And this was back in 2016, before he won his first chip at Golden State. And we have to understand that we can't fit our standard or what we want Kevin Durant to be. If that's not what he is, then that's just not what he is. So a lot of announcers saying, oh, Michael Jordan would never say that. Tom Brady would never say that. Kobe Bryant would never say that. It always has been and always will be about winning. Okay. And that's perfectly fine. But we have seen Kevin Durant in the spotlight for 12 plus years now. If that's not what Kevin Durant is, then that's just not what he is. As a talent, at the end of his career, Kevin Durant is going to go down as one of the top 10 players of all time. In my opinion, he's going to end up being top 5. But that's another topic for another day. But we have to take Kevin Durant for what it is. If Kevin Durant is not motivated by winning titles, then he's not motivated by winning titles. So what do we value most in this life? Some of us value the accolades, winning, championships. And some of us value the personal growth. What can we get the most? Can we get the most out of ourselves? And sometimes the two go hand in hand. Sometimes winning and personal growth go hand in hand. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes you have to sacrifice winning for your personal growth. And vice versa. Sometimes you have to sacrifice personal growth for winning. And if you're blessed by the Most High, you get both in tandem. And the greats would do that, especially in basketball. Kobe Bryant, personal growth and winning championships. Like I said, Michael Jordan, personal growth, winning championships. Tim Duncan, personal growth, winning championships. Kevin Durant, personal growth, winning championships. So simply because Kevin Durant has won championships does not invalidate what he's saying about valuing personal growth over winning. He's always had the mindset that he's wanted personal growth. And if anything, his experience now validates that even more and substantiates that, because he's had the experience of winning. Because some could say, oh, maybe if he wins a couple championships, that might change his mind. It doesn't, and it hasn't. And you can see it in the statements that it doesn't mean anything to him. Or it does mean something, but not as much as that personal growth. And that's not a problem. What happens is we try to, with these celebrities and sports stars, we try to fit our standard and our mindset of what we want them to be. We try to place that on them, even if that's not what they are. We want everyone today in the league to be, stern and not talk to anybody and just be ruthless on the court. Some of these guys are introspective. Some of these guys are thinkers. Some of these guys, like I said, value their personal growth and development over winning. And that's fine. But the problem is we make comparisons between these guys and the guys of the previous generation. But that's how human beings work. We like to make comparisons because what comparisons do, it establishes order. And as humans, we're creatures of order by nature. By nature, we love order. And so we're going to naturally do things that bring order. So comparisons establish a precedent, and the comparisons establish a pecking order, a list. List brings order and organization. So that's why we make comparisons so often between everything. Doesn't matter what we do, food, drinks, players, sports. You see us as humans making comparisons and making a list of everything, because that establishes a precedent and order for us. But we can't do that. If that's Kevin Durant's mindset, then that's his mindset. Now, we have to take that for what it is. If that, for you, if his mindset affects where he ranks among your all-time list, then it just is what it is. But just because he values something different from you doesn't invalidate what he values. It just establishes what he wants in life and what he values. And we all have different things that we care about and what we value in life. But we have to hold on to that as individuals for ourselves. Because when we're secure in what we want and what we care about in this life, we have focus and vision and purpose now. And it's hard for someone to knock us off that vision and that path. And there's going to be people in your life that are going to disagree with what you think and how you feel and what you value. But that's just the way things go, and that's something we're going to have to deal with. But don't let that deter you or dissuade you from what you want and what you value. And me personally, the reason I'm saying is because me personally, basketball is an art form, right? It's so nuanced, it's so intricate. There's so much to learn, but at the same time, it's also very simplistic. Basketball is a simple game, but it's, there's beauty in the simplicity of it all. Not to sound cliche, but it's the truth. And the game of basketball is a canvas. And each player is a different paintbrush that gets to paint on that canvas. And when it's all said and done, you're going to see this beautiful, large canvas of different brush strokes and paint colors and designs. But it has all come together to create a beautiful work of art. And if art is all relative, that's what we say, right? Art is all relative. So if one paintbrush likes to paint to the code of winning, who's to say that's better or worse than the paintbrush that likes to paint to the sound of personal growth and development? They're all painting on the same canvas. They're all making their contributions to this beautiful work of art. If the work of art is beautiful at the end of the day, then it is. No matter how you got there, no matter what paintbrush you use, no matter what method you use, it's still going to be beautiful at the end of the day. And so we have to understand that what you value is solely dependent on you. And of course, people are going to say about Kevin Durant, oh, he's only saying that because he's already got the rings. Or he's just saying that to create headlines, quote unquote. Even if he is saying that to create headlines, the concept of us trying to change what he values says a lot about us as individuals. Okay, that's what he values. That's what he values. And if in your eyes that makes him not one of the greats because of his mindset, okay, then it is what it is. But you can't take away from his game. He is going to go down as one of the top 5 greatest players of all time. At the end of the day. So we have to take things for what they are. Kevin Durant is someone that has, someone say, thinks outside the box, but I'd say that he's just someone that is very introspective, and he's someone that questions a lot of things. And we have to question things in life to find out what things really mean and what things are really worth. And that's okay. So it's okay. It's fine that Kevin Durant values personal growth and development on the court and off the court over winning championships. Because championships are materialistic things. Everything in this physical world can be replaced. But your personal growth, your personal development, that can't be replaced. That's something that is eternal. It's going to last forever. So once you stop putting value on physical things in this world, then you start to understand the importance of valuing your personal growth and development over anything else in this life, in your relationship with the Most High. So just take some time to reflect on that. But one thing that is constant, and one thing that everyone should have the same concept and idea on, is diets. What should we be eating and what shouldn't we be eating? So in this next segment, I'm going to talk about how my diet has changed from high school to college, even now to at the professional level, and what advice I would give to high schoolers and college athletes, even professionals that have questions on what type of diet they should have during the preseason, during the regular season, and during the off season. Now, I know it's something that can be pretty dependent on, it varies on individual, but there are some baselines and regulations that can apply to all of us. So just stick around until next segment so you can hear me talk about that. And also stick around for our last segment of the day to hear me talk about whether kids should be playing multiple sports or not. I know that's a big debate topic, something that's talked about consistently throughout the sports wave. So just stick around. We got a lot of topics to cover. You're not going to miss it.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us on this second segment of this show. So in the previous segment, we talked about knowing what do you value most in this life. And I used the backdrop of Kevin Durant and the recent statements that he had made in regards to where he feels he's at in his career right now. And he feels that he's at a point where he's valuing his personal growth and development, not only as a player, but also as an individual, as opposed to winning championships. And if you listen to the previous segment, I said that it's okay that Kevin Durant values personal growth over winning championships. That's his prerogative. Us, on the outside, we can't try to force our narrative or our thought process onto Kevin Durant. We can't try to box Kevin Durant into our mindset, into what we feel like he should have in terms of the thought process. And if his thought process of valuing personal growth over winning championships affects where he is on your all-time list, then it is what it is. Yeah, we have to be willing to take things for what they are and not for what they can be or what they should be. Once you do that, you will decrease your stress. You'll decrease your worrying. And you'll be able to move about life in a much more stable and calm manner. But something that we all should value, should is a key word, something that we all should value is our health and our diets, right? They go hand in hand. You have a good diet, you're going to be healthier. Specifically, athletes. Now, it's an interesting conundrum. The athletes, it's vital, it's important for us to have a clean and healthy diet. But because of our lifestyle, we're moving about so often and our metabolism is so high and we're so active, we can get away with having a poor diet. And that's something that a lot of people that aren't professional or collegiate athletes or even high school athletes, that's something they don't understand. That not all athletes have great diets. A lot of them don't, actually. A lot of athletes don't have great diets. Especially at the professional level. I mean, from what I've seen, it's just, I'm not going to say any names, but there are some people that were, smoking cigarettes before the game, drinking before the game, eating cookies and shortbread and Reese's Pieces before a practice. I mean, I've seen it all. I have seen it all. And that's just at the professional level. Mind you, at the college level, it's a whole nother ball game. But I do have to point out that in college it's a little different. A lot of times you're only able to eat what the caf provides, and if the cafeteria is providing unhealthy food, then you have no choice but to eat that. Unless you can cook, unless you're eating at your apartment or in your dorm. So college is a little different. But the pro level, no, I've seen it all. Guys eat whenever, whatever, however. And it did affect their play. For the most part, it did affect their style of play and affected how successful they were on the court. But I want to start out with, let's start with the high schoolers, right? So in high school, your metabolism is flying. It's through the roof right now. And you're hungry all the time, but you're also very active. You're burning a lot of calories. I remember when I was in high school, I want to tell this story. During the season, when we would have two-a-days, we would have practice in the morning. And I remember where we practiced at our high school gym, it was right next to him. It was close to the McDonald's on the base in Japan. After practice, we got to practice. I would be able to go eat McDonald's, a big, y'all remember at McDonald's when they used to sell the breakfast platter with the 3 pancakes and the egg and the biscuit? I would be able to eat that with 2 hash browns and apple juice. Eat that. Go to practice 2 hours later and be just fine. Like nothing happened. If anything, I had more energy in that second practice. Like I used to be able to eat McDonald's before practice. Before games. I used to be able to eat Burger King on away trips. I used to be able to eat Subway. Pizza Hut. There's this other place called Old Charlie's. It's like the steakhouse. Like a sub place. They're known for their steak and cheese. This is in Japan. But yeah, I was able to eat all of that and I was just fine. I felt nothing at all. I felt rejuvenated, if anything. In high school, you can get away with that. I could get away with eating all the fatty foods and eating late at night. I could get away with all of this. But what I would tell the high school athletes is that work on your diet now. Work on it now, not so you can see the effects now, but so that you can have longevity later in your career, even past college. And so for high schoolers, what I would tell them is you guys need to be eating some sort of starch, preferably, rice with the protein, chicken. First of all, no one should be eating pork. You guys should just cut pork out your diet right now. Cut it out. Just stop right now. If you're eating pork, sit it down. Stop eating it. No one should be eating pork. So as a protein, you should be having chicken, whether it be baked or grilled, air fried. There's ways to make it. It's hard to mess up chicken and season it to your liking, but chicken and rice and some sort of green, whether it be broccoli or green beans, collard greens, spinach, some sort of green. And I would have some sort of fruit, with whether it be oranges or bananas. Those are my preference. Strawberries, pineapples. You guys need to be eating that throughout the day. And you guys, as high school, you guys should be eating at least 6 times a day. But there's smaller portions, right? But you're constantly eating out the day. That way you're not lacking energy, but you have the necessary energy to make it through all your practices, on all your workouts, and all of your trainings. And for me, as a professional athlete, I'll just give you my typical diet right now. So this is my off season right now. In the morning before my 5:30 practice, I eat 2 little, we call them mekons in Japan, but they're the little mini oranges. I eat 2 of those before practice because I don't like to be heavy. I don't like to be heavy going into practice. I'll drink water. After practice is when I get my bigger breakfast meal. I'll have oatmeal and eggs and a starch. So, a toast, whether it be wheat or white, I'll have some sort of toast. So that'll be my breakfast. After that, I'll get my second workout in on the court around 12 to 1 o'clock. And we go until 2:30. After that, I get another meal in. Now I'm drinking a smoothie. This smoothie has, has spinach and a sweetener like dates, almond milk, and some berries for sweetener, some more sweetener, and a banana. That'll be my smoothie, and I'll drink that that's all I'll drink going into right before I lift. And then I lift from about 4 to 5:36. And after lifting is when I eat my dinner. That's when I'll get my chicken. So, baked, grilled, sauteed, stewed, air fried, whatever, my chicken. And then I'll have another starch, whether it be rice or potatoes, or I'll eat it like as a wrap. And I'll have more greens. And I'll have another vegetable as well, like whether it be corn or black beans, pinto beans, lima beans, a different sort of veggies. Is what I'm trying to get at. Brussels sprouts, carrots, a different type of veggie. And then I'll have something sweet with it as well. I might have like a bowl of cereal, or I might have another fruit like a banana or an apple. Right? And then before I go to bed, if I'm hungry, I'll eat, 1 bag of chips, or typically it's a bag of chips and some green tea. The green tea is to regulate your appetite and to calm your stomach down. So I'll eat something heavier at night. That way, when I cycle back through into the morning before my 5:30 workout, I don't need anything heavy because I've already had a big dinner. So my body is still fueling on the dinner I had the night before. But see, I'm constantly eating throughout the day, snack there, snack here. Then, my meals in between as well. And that's how, especially professional athletes, that's how we have to be, and even college athletes, because you guys are busy as well, constantly throughout the day. You got classes, practice, workouts, film. You got to find moments where you can eat a meal, a quick meal. If smoothies are good for that. I used to not be a fan of smoothies, especially in college. I thought it was too almost cliche, almost a hype piece. But once I found out a way to make my own smoothies, or that certain stores actually sell good smoothies, I started doing that. And I said, okay, I can go here and get a good smoothie. I can go there and get a good smoothie. And we had to take care of our bodies. You know, our bodies are is our business, right? And we're going to invest properly into our business because it's our business, it's our money. So our bodies, how we make business, we have to take care of that. So high schoolers, make sure you guys are eating correctly now. And, you know, high schoolers, you guys are the ones that can get away with not eating. But you guys are the ones that should be eating properly now. And you'll see the effects, you know, partially, but you'll really start to notice it once you start to turn 26 and 27, 28. Because you have been on a steady and clean diet for so long, you have primed yourself to last longer in your career than those who did not prioritize their diet. And it's never too late. And guys that are professional or college athletes who perhaps aren't on a good diet, it's not too late. You can still put yourself on a good diet. Because what you start to realize is it's the little details like that really start to separate athletes. Not necessarily how you perform in the court or in your training, but are you getting enough sleep? Are you allowing your body enough time to recover? How efficient are you in your training? What are you putting into your body to refuel? Are you refueling at all? Little things like that is what starts to separate the good from the greats. And, you know, we can use LeBron James as an example. LeBron James is on a very strict diet and has been on a strict diet. And look how he trains. He's very strict in his regimen. I mean, he invested $1 million into a personal trainer, if I'm not mistaken. That's how committed we have to be to our business, which is our bodies. Because that's how we make money as athletes with our body. And to college athletes, what I would say is stock up on fruit. Stock up on fruit for your dorm. Because there's going to be times where you're in the caf and you might not like what they have in there. But you're going to have to eat something. So stock up on a lot of fruit. Stock up on a lot of Nutri-Green bars too, Nature Valley bars. They sell they're going to sell like chicken wraps and turkey wraps at the store. So go ahead and buy that. You know, buy those. Those are good to stock up on. But yeah, I mean, there are ways that, especially as college athletes, you guys can, you know, still be effective in your diet. So just be sure to do that. And as professional athletes, at this point, we should know what we're doing right now, right? We've got to be able to take care of our bodies and eat properly. At this point, at the professional, there's no excuse because, you know, mom's not there to cook for us. We're not eating in the cafe anymore. It's on us. What are we what are we gonna do? It's on us. So there is no excuse except us. So we have the means to put the right food into our body, especially as professional athletes. So we have to do that. But the key to having a good diet is not only what you're doing, but the consistency in what you do it. And that's when you really start to see the results. And that's something I wish I would have done earlier on. I didn't really start to get into dieting and watch what I put into my body until maybe my senior year of college. like I said, I didn't need to. I was always just more athletic and quicker, and my metabolism was flying. And I wish I would have done that now, because now at 23, it'll be easier for me to see the results. But yeah, I started now, and the results are now. I can start to see the results. But that's from starting 2 or 3 years ago, which I say start now, start early, so you can see the results quicker. But dieting is key for everybody. Everyone needs to have a great diet, not just athletes, but people that live a regular day-to-day life as well. And I talked about high schoolers having a great diet and things they should be doing. And in this next segment, I want to talk about freshmen athletes going into their freshman year, especially basketball players going into their freshman year of college. And what is the mental and emotional and mental approach they should have going into the preseason? And also later in the show, I'm going to also talk about the constant debate that's brought up of whether kids should be playing multiple sports. So just stick around for the rest of the show so you can hear about all that. Talk to you guys soon.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, everybody, welcome back to our third segment of this wonderful show. So if you guys were listening and tuned in previously, we were talking about what do we value in this life? And is what you value different from what others perceive you to have valued or what they want you to value? And if it is different, how do you handle that? We handle it by tuning them out and focusing solely on what you want to value in life. And if it's not breaking the laws of the land, if it's not causing anybody harm, you focus on what you need to do and what you want to better yourself. And then we also talked about how your diet can affect your daily life and your athletic career as well, especially your basketball players. And we also talked how your diet can affect you not only mentally, emotionally, but spiritually. So whatever you're putting into imagine your body is like a car. And you want to put the necessary oil, you want to put the premium oil in, you want to put the right type of gas in to make the car run effectively. So if you're buying cheap gas and you're being cheap on the oil changes and you're not doing maintenance, doing engine checks, things like that, your car is not going to run the way that it needs to. The same way with your body. We have to constantly check up on our body. We have to put in the correct things into our body, make sure we're putting healthy and efficient things into our body so we can run properly, just like a car. in terms of making sure things run properly, I want to talk about how freshmen can make sure that they're running their careers properly, or they're running their careers off to a good start going into the preseason at their college or university with the team they're playing for. And there is a specific approach that these young athletes need to have going into the season. But let's start it even before you get onto campus. And say it's after signing day, right? And you sign your letter of intent to go to whatever school. Before you even get onto campus, you've already talked with the coaches, with the head coach and assistant coaches, I'm assuming. The first thing I'm doing is I'm asking the head coach, the assistant coach, the strength and conditioning coach attached to the program, the GA, graduate assistant. I'm asking everyone in that on the staff, coaching staff, what do I need to do to improve my game to be ready going into the season? Before I even step on the campus, before I step on the court, this is during my off season. And the reason you want to ask each and every coach, because if for some reason they have different answers, they'll have different answers, but now you'll have a more accurate depiction of how they view you. So the head coach thinks that you need to work on your lateral movement, and the assistant coach thinks you need to work on finishing at the rim. But the GA thinks that you need to work on handling the ball under pressure. So they all have different things that they think you should work on. But now that you know, because you've asked every single person on the coaching staff, you're going to be able to work on all of those things. So the first thing I do, as soon as I sign my letter of intent, I'm asking each and every coach or person on the coaching staff, what do you think I should be doing this offseason to be ready going into the season? So that should be the first thing that you do. Contact all of them, email them, and stay in contact with them throughout the offseason. Send them videos. Show them your weight room regimen. You can say, hey, coach, is this right? Or, coach, should my hips be lower on my defensive stance? Hey, coach, am I finishing high enough off the glass on my floater? Hey, coach, is my ball handling tight under the pressure? Should I keep my eyes up? Are my eyes up? Send them videos of you working out so they can critique you and give you advice. We're in the age of technology where we're able to do all these things. And a lot of these things the previous generation wasn't able to do. They weren't able to text and call their coaches whenever and send them videos, workout videos easily. But because we're in that new age, we need to take advantage of that. So freshmen that are coming into college, during the offseason, email your coach, text your coach, show your coach videos of you working out and say, coach, how's this looking? How am I looking right now? Am I big enough? Do I need to lose weight? How do I look? You need to ask them all these things so you can be prepared going into the season. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you want to maximize. You need all your resources, right? You want to be able to maximize your potential. So use all your resources. Email them, contact them, ask them questions, ask them to send you video. Look up game film and say, and you can ask the head coach or the assistant coach or the GAs. And you say, hey, on this set right here, I'm just using an example, I saw that the guard that was in there last year, he didn't come tight enough with the angle coming off of pin down. So then he had to end up flaring out. And then you can say, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to come tighter off that pin down screen so I'm able to curl off of it as opposed to flaring out? Do that. Have a pseudo film session with them by watching film and then sending them what you just watched, and then ask them questions. So watching film on the team you're going to be playing for, watch their film, see where they were successful at, see where they struggled at, and watch their conference games, and watch the teams within their conference, watch them play, see what makes them successful, see what they struggle with. Do they struggle with shooting? Do they struggle with defensive transition? Do they struggle with boxing out? Are they lazy off ball offensively? All things like that. Look for that within your conference opponents. And you have to watch all that film. And don't be afraid to ask your coaches all these questions before you even get to the season. This is all during the off season. And aside from the coaches, I'm contacting all of my teammates or my soon-to-be teammates, whether it be seniors, juniors, sophomores, other freshmen coming in. I'm contacting them, letting them know, hey, we're going to be ready. Make sure you're working. And to keep everyone accountable, send them videos of you working out and say, hey, this is me working. Shoot me a video of you working so I know you're on the same page. Keep them accountable. Call them every morning you wake up to go work out. Call them, hey, Johnny, you up? Hey, Marcus, you up? Get up. We working. We're preparing to win this conference right now. You have to keep everyone accountable. Even as a freshman, it doesn't matter because people are going to respect work ethic and accountability at the end of the day, no matter who or where you are in life. So bring that energy. And it starts with the offseason. Text your coaches, like I said, and text your players. Keep them accountable. Ask them what they're working on. You can say, hey, Marcus, what are you working on this offseason? What are you adding to your game? What are you bringing to the team next year? Keep them accountable, even as a freshman. And you might think, oh, well, I'm not in a position to do that because I haven't been with the program long enough. Screw that. Start now. You're a part of the program. Once you sign that letter of intent, you are now a part of the program. And act as such. You don't have to be arrogant. Be confident, but talk to your players. Talk to your teammates. Say, hey, Johnny, Andrew, Marcus, let's get together one weekend and let's all work out together at this gym. Set things up like that. It's things like that that build continuity and build chemistry within a team or program. And that chemistry rides into the season and carries the team deeper into their playoff run, whether it be in the conference tournament or NCAA tournament. And if that's getting out your comfort zone for you, then you have to get out your comfort zone. But these are things that have to be done before we even get onto campus. Because it shows your coaches that you can communicate, and it shows your teammates that you can communicate, and it shows both the coaches and your teammates that you're serious about this. You're serious about winning. You're serious about being part of this program. And if you're playing college basketball, you should be serious. This is a job. This is now your job. You're 100% invested into this. So all of that is taking place before we even step onto the basketball court, before we even step on the campus. So now let's talk about what should our approach be once we get onto campus, once we get on the basketball court. As a freshman, be ready to have your game. Be ready to learn everything, to relearn everything when it comes to the game of basketball. Because what's going to happen, you're going to learn a completely new system. Again, you're going to learn how your coach teaches that system and what they want. Your high school coach might have wanted things a certain way. It might have done things a certain way. And you're used to that for 4 years. You're going into a completely new program now with a coach that has brought you in to fit a certain role. So you have to be ready to adjust to his system and how he wants things. And you have to be very intuitive and attentive on listening and trying to figure out exactly what he wants. And the quicker you can learn that, the quicker you can adapt to that, and the quicker you can do that, which will lead to you getting more playing time. So be able to adapt and play and find the way your coach wants you to play and fit into his system. Because at the end of the day, that coach has brought you in to fill a role and he wants you to do a specific task on the court. So don't, as a freshman, feel like you need to go out there and do everything and score 30 and pull down 12 boards and dish out 15 assists. You don't have to do all that. Just play your role. Do your role. See, in college, everything's about roles. What's your role in the team? Do you get the guys set up in the offense? Do you score off the wing? Do your coaches look for you to score first? Do you rebound? Are you a good screener? Are you an excellent defender? What is your role? And the coach is going to show you your role. He's going to tell you what your role is. And just focus on being the best person in your role that you can be. Then from there, your role will expand because the coach has seen that he can trust you with one task. Now he can trust you with another task and another task and another task. And then that's how your role expands. But it starts out first by mastering the first role that the coach has given you. So as a point guard, if initially your first role is just to get guys in the offense, don't look to score, just set everyone up, get us in the offense. That's okay. Do that. Be great in that. And I promise you your role will expand because the coach sees, okay, I can trust Andrew with getting us into the offense. Now let's give him a larger leash and say, hey, Andrew, if there's 10 seconds on the clock, you can attack and penetrate and look to score. Once you start to master that, then the coach will say, okay, let's get Andrew into a early high ball screen action to initiate the offense and see what he can do. Then you master that. And now the coach is saying, okay, Andrew, look to score every time you get down the court, look to score. See how the role has gradually increased by the addition of roles. That's what you have to do, but you have to start out with the foundation. You have to start out initially by mastering the first role that the coach is giving you. And a lot of times freshmen, they come into a program or system with a lot of hubris because in high school, they were the man averaging 25, 30 points a game. But you have to understand, in college, everyone was the man in high school. But now everyone that was the man in high school is now in college. So now we're on the same level playing field again. So it's back at square one. You have to work twice as hard, maybe 3 times as hard to get back to that role. So freshmen, be willing to humble yourself and fit within that role. Because I promise you this, everyone and at great college programs, it's about guys that want to play in their role and fit in their role and play it well. If you play in your role well, and your teammates are doing the same, you guys are going to lead. You guys are going to win. And if you win, I guarantee you that's going to garner more, not only just acclaim, but recognition from professional scouts, because it's going to show that you know how to win in our private winning program. And it shows that you're successful. And that is going to make it that much easier for you to transition and play at the next level, because general managers and scouts, they see that, okay, he played at a winning program. He must play well. He knows the game well. They'll give you a shot before someone else that didn't play at a winning program if you guys are in the same conference or same division. So think long term. Be willing to humble yourselves in that moment, because you're only going to improve from there. And soak everything in. Be a sponge. Ask questions. Ask too many questions. That's not possible. But ask, if you feel like you're asking too many questions, ask more. Ask more. It doesn't matter. Ask after every play, after every drill, after every film session. Ask questions until you know that you're 100%. Ask questions until you feel like you're able to teach another teammate what you just learned. That's how you truly know if you've learned something or not, or if you truly have mastered a skill or a concept, if you can teach it to someone else. So ask questions. Players, coaches, ask them. Your teammates, ask them questions. Ask the upperclassmen, hey, what does coach look for when we're trapping a full court? Does he want us to jump the passing lanes, or does he want us to not cheat and just stay back? Ask the upperclassmen or the people that have been in that program those questions, so you know how to play when you're on the court. So be a sponge, soak it all in, ask the questions, humble yourself, play in your role in the beginning, because that's going to build trust. And coaches are only going to put on the court players that they trust. So build that trust. Build that trust by playing in your role and doing it well. And I guarantee you, it doesn't matter what school you play at, what division you're in, what position you play, who your coach is. Coaches are always going to want players that can defend without fouling and that can rebound. Those are effort skills, or not skills. Those are effort areas. They want players that can do that. Because obviously you can score. That's why you're in college. You can score the ball. Everyone can score the ball in college. Can you defend at a high clip? Can you rebound as a guard? As a guard, if you can rebound and defend and not turn the ball over, you're going to play 30 minutes or at least 25 minutes. I guarantee it. You don't turn the ball over. You defend with intensity and you rebound. You don't have to score. You're doing that. You're doing everything else. I can find a 3-man and a 2-man that can score, but you're doing things that they can't. You can defend and you can rebound at a high clip. You can disrupt the other team's offense by getting into the opposing team's point guard's bubble and disrupting him, which in turn disrupts the offense. So you make us a better defensive team. So you're going to stay on the court. So these are all things that freshmen should be thinking about. Be proactive. Contact your coaches. Contact your players during the offseason. Keep everyone accountable for working out and bettering themselves. Once you get on campus, onto the court, play your role. Just limit your turnovers. Play defense. Soak everything in. Ask questions. Even when you don't have a question, ask a question anyway to show that you're attentive. Ask questions. Be proactive. Be proactive because it's your career. You have to be 110% invested into this. And I promise you, from my experience, if you do all these things, you're going to get playing time. And even if you don't, be patient. Do all of these things consistently, and your playing time will come. I promise. The game is fair. The game is fair to those who work, to those that invest in it and work hard. But this is a job now, and you have to be 100% invested. These are things you have to do. You might not have had to do these things in high school, but this isn't high school anymore. This is college. People's lives, people live off of this. And this is what we have to do. So do all these things, freshmen, go into college, do all these things. I promise you'll be successful. But speaking about high school athletes, this debate is constantly brought up about whether kids should play multiple sports or not. And will that affect or hinder their development in their main sport? So stick around for our final segment of this show, and I'm going to talk about all of that and where I stand on that debate. So stick around. You're not going to miss it.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the final segment of our show today. Thank you so much for listening up to this point. We have covered a lot today. We've talked about what do you value, what do you value, and what do you hold dear to you most in this life, in reference to KD. We talked about the importance of dieting in basketball players. Why is it important for us to diet, and how exactly do we utilize our diet, and how it can affect us not only on the court, but off the court as well. We've also covered the approach and the mental aspect that freshmen should have coming into their first season at their college or university, and the importance of communicating with the coaching staff and with your other teammates before you even step onto the court. And once you step on the court, the importance of asking questions and being vocal and taking advantage of every opportunity, every drill, every play, asking questions, take advantage of everything you have, and knowing your role. But mainly taking advantage of every opportunity, every drill. Speaking of taking advantage, in this last segment, last 20 minutes, I want to talk about a subject that quite frankly is talked about quite often in sports. It is more of a debate, and it's one of the most staunch debates I've ever seen across the sporting world, mainly because it involves all sports. And if you've listened in on earlier in the show, then you know what I'm about to talk about, and that is whether kids should play multiple sports. And primarily, I'm going to focus on basketball players. Primarily, should basketball players play multiple sports growing up? I just want to start out by saying that. Well, I'll show the examples, and I'll let you guys make the decision, and I'll give my example or give my stance. So what is the purpose of playing multiple sports? At first, people used to say, well, it keeps you in shape for your season. It keeps you in shape. It keeps your joints. It keeps your hand-eye coordination. It keeps your hands. It keeps all of that on the up and up during the off season. The reason that people are so opposed to basketball players playing multiple sports now at this day and age is because there are so many opportunities to play basketball outside of your season. And the thing that makes basketball so unique in this topic, as opposed to baseball or football or soccer or whatever other sport is your main sport, is that basketball can quite frankly be played year-round. Baseball can't be played year-round. Soccer can't be played year-round. Ideally, football, quite frankly, can't even be played year-round, though it does cover from fall to the winter. Basketball is the one sport that can essentially be played all year round because it is indoors. And basketball is the only sport that has such a rich and prominent an AAU program, which is played opposite of the high school basketball season. And no other sport has an equivalent to AAU. The basketball has. So, I mean, football has Pop Warner. And I'm sure that soccer has travel leagues. And I'm sure that baseball has some sort of travel league as well. But none of that really compares to AAU. I mean, just in talent, I've seen more talent in AAU games than I have in high school basketball games. Now, granted, I'm not the biggest fan of AAU. I think the basketball is poor. I think that organization or that the concept of it has been misused, misinterpreted, and now it's become corrupt, quite frankly. Though it does provide an opportunity for young basketball players to get exposure, I still think it has become corrupt. But that is the main reason why people are so staunch on the fact that basketball players don't need to play any other sport. Why do you need to play any other sport if you get to play basketball year round? If you want to play professionally, you're going to play year round. So why don't you start now? If that is the thought process, the point is being missed. So let me just say this. What are the differences between football and basketball? Physicality, right? The toughness. Those are the two main important factors that differentiate. So there are qualities and traits, and quite frankly, even some skill sets that can be picked up from football that can't be picked up the same way in basketball. For example, the toughness. Let's say, for example, you play running back and you're used to holding the ball tight, staying low, getting through the holes, and hitting the linebacker straight on, but keeping your shoulders low. That can translate on the court. Same way when you drive in the lane, you have to keep that ball tight. You have to keep your shoulders low, attacking the hip, and then exploding up. Like I said, when you explode up, instead of hitting linebacker, you're finishing above the rim. That movement directly translates to basketball. And the toughness aspect. In football, you're getting hit every single play. There is not a play that you're not getting hit. You're getting hit every single play as a football player. And that builds that toughness. And you getting hit every time, that just naturally builds up your muscle mass as well. Now, basketball players don't need that much muscle mass, but it does help. And if you get hit every time when you're on the football field, when you get over to the basketball court, whatever contact that you're going to feel or that you're going to get is going to be nothing to you because it doesn't compare to what you got on the football field. So do you see how that builds your mental toughness and your mental character by playing football? And I'm just going to stick on basketball players, but you see football players that play basketball as well because they get the footwork and the lateral movement. But you also get mental toughness from football. You know, those 2-a-days out in the hot sun in August. You know, the Oklahoma drills. Things like that build character and mental toughness. That translates to the basketball court. Not to say that us as basketball players, we don't have any of that. But sometimes it's different getting it from another sport. And those that have played multiple sports, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just something about that mental toughness in football, how it's just slightly different from the mental toughness in basketball. But it helps. It helps. So you see how, specifically football, so how basketball players can benefit from playing football. And people say, well, you run the risk of getting injured. Well, shoot, you run the risk of getting injured every single day you step outside. Every time you step on the court, you run the risk of getting injured. Is the risk probability higher in football because of the collision rate? Sure, I'll give you that. But it doesn't matter what sport you play, you're going to run the risk of getting hurt. And if you're playing to not get hurt, you are going to get hurt. I'll say that again. If you're playing to not get hurt, you are going to get hurt. There is no other way around it. There's no other way to say it. So that shouldn't be a deterrent from you playing. And I'm not here to say, oh, you should be playing. You need to play multiple sports no matter what. Would I prefer it or would I recommend it? Sure, I would say, yeah, play another sport. And there's nuance to all this, but I want to keep going. So let's talk about soccer. We could argue that basketball players and soccer players have the best footwork, maybe boxing too. Boxing, basketball, and soccer have the best footwork amongst all athletes. I could argue that. So as a basketball player, you could benefit from playing soccer. Not only the footwork, but the cardio. I mean, there's soccer players running 5-6 miles a day for their practice or for their conditioning. You don't think that won't help out with basketball? Gilbert Arenas used to run 6 miles a day before training camp every day when he was at University of Arizona. You don't think 6 miles a day wouldn't help a basketball player? You don't think that footwork wouldn't help? You don't think that stop and go movement wouldn't help a basketball player? That's what you get from playing soccer. You get all of that. So there's benefits to playing multiple sports as an athlete, as a basketball player primarily. It's going to develop certain muscles and certain twitches that you can't get from primarily playing basketball. And playing multiple sports just naturally increases your athleticism as well, because like I said, it's forcing you to use different muscles that you wouldn't normally use. And it's forcing you to build mass that you wouldn't necessarily have to either. So if you're asking me, yeah, play multiple sports. And track, we haven't even talked about track. Do I even need to explain what you get out of track as a basketball player? The explosiveness, the speed, the conditioning, long jump, high jump, the 800, the 4x4. Do I really need? Do I even need to go into depth on that? I mean, I just talked about 3 sports, but there's so many other sports you could play too. Baseball, hand-eye coordination, shoulder strength. You don't think that translates to playing defense and jumping the passing lanes and getting strength on your shot? Boxing, footwork, stamina. You don't think that translates to basketball? Come on now. We got to get serious. We have to get serious. I'm not saying you have to play multiple sports up until you get to college. I'm saying that as middle schoolers, elementary schoolers, you need to be playing multiple sports. And the caveat, people would say that, well, now today, not only with AAU, but the training too, kids are training year round for their sport. So why take away that time from their training? No, kids need to build out that muscle and athleticism when they're that age. In high school, when they get to their sophomore or junior year, okay, sure, then we can talk about setting time aside and starting to mainly focus on their sport. But up until then, no, they need to be playing multiple sports. They need to be playing multiple sports to develop those different muscle fibers and twitches. Let's think about some of the great athletes, great basketball players. There were dual sport athletes. Bill Russell did track. Wilt Chamberlain did track. Kareem did track. Michael Jordan played baseball. LeBron James played, I think, every sport, football and baseball. Allen Iverson played football. Nate Robinson played football. I mean, not an all-time great, but another basketball player that played multiple sports. So you see how when we start to go down that list, these are all guys that have played multiple sports, and you can see that they were still able to develop a skill set. But because they played multiple sports, that developed a different twitch in their muscle fiber. And don't tell me you're not going to have time. You're just not going to have time to train to get better. Because if you're great and you really want to be great at something, you'll find the time and you make time to improve on something. That's just what it is. As young kids, from elementary to middle and up until maybe your sophomore, junior high school, you need to be playing multiple sports. And I played multiple sports up until my junior year of high school. I played football. I played basketball. I played soccer. I did all of that. And I can tell you from experience, all of it, every single thing translated to back to the court. The footwork in soccer. Like I said, being strong and tough from football, the cardio, the mental toughness, all that translated to basketball, and it just made me a better basketball player. But I was hungry. I had that drive. I wanted to be great, just like I know you guys do. So I made time, even when I was playing in my season for football or for soccer, to train on my basketball skills too. And don't get twisted. I'm not saying that, okay, if you're in football season, you're not going to touch basketball at all. No, you should still be working on your skill set if you're during football season or soccer season, whatever your other sport. You just might not have as much time, but you still have to make good use of the time you do have to train for basketball still. And that's the nuance in that. People think that you can't do both. You can do both. It's a matter of, do you want to? A lot of people that ask, well, can you do both? Can you do both? They're the ones that don't want to. They don't want to put that extra time in. You can do it. It's going to hurt and you're going to be busy and hectic, but it's worth it because it's going to make you better. And it's the tough things that separate us. It's the tough things that separate the good from the great. But it's the things that have to be done. So yes, kids should be playing multiple sports. I would say up to their junior or senior year. But that's just my personal opinion. I mean, to each his own, right? That's just my opinion. But as we start to wind down the end of this show, we've talked about a lot, and I gave my takes based upon my personal experiences. You know, the reason I'm able to talk so much about the approach that freshmen should have going into their seasons, because I was once a freshman in college. I was once a rookie at the professional level. I was once a freshman going into high school. And these are all things I did. And the reason I'm vouching so much for is because it worked for me. And if it worked for me, I know it can work for you because you guys are talented, maybe more talented than me. And the reason I talk about diet, and I'm so adamant about it, is because I didn't have a diet, like I said, growing up in high school and partially through college. But I wish I would have had someone to tell me about my diet. But I want to be able to give that knowledge back to you guys, because you guys can use it and be better. Stand on my shoulders so you guys can be great. That's all I'm here for. This isn't for me. This is for you guys. And most importantly, talking about what do you value most in this life. Learn at a young age what you value most and what's most important to you. Because if you know that at a young age, as you grow up, nothing's going to deter you and nothing's going to faze you and nothing's going to bother you. And you'll be a lot more content. You'll be a lot more at peace, and you'll be happier as you go on through life. I mean, I'm 23 and I'm just learning what I value most. Which also shows you this whole concept of this life thing, we're all going at a different pace, and just focus on the pace you're going. Worry about your race and your lane and no one else's, because you're going at your time. And I want to end it right there, guys. I'm going to get off my soapbox, but thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in to us. We really appreciate all the support and all the love. And if you like what you hear, give us some feedback and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe to us. You can hear us on all streaming platforms. I'll be back again soon, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Continue to stay safe and be vigilant. Until next time, guys.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.